Hello, Kingsvillians. This is Kim DeYoung, Town Councillor, coming at you with a Rookie Councillor Year in Review. I was sitting here today reviewing what I need to have front of mind going forward in January, and I thought it might be interesting and maybe useful if I gave a little shout out about what Council accomplished in this last year. Please keep in mind this is from my perspective, not a thorough review of everything that took place in town or certainly with Town Council. But it's what interested me, what stood out to me, and what I thought might interest you. The term started off, our year started off with a controversial decision that Council had to make regarding retail cannabis. We had to decide whether we were going to opt in or opt out. And it was an interesting and slightly bizarre decision to have to make, because regardless of which way we voted, we weren't and still aren't eligible for a retail cannabis storefront. So, but we had to make the decision. If we were to opt out, no big deal. We could change our minds later. And if we opted in, there was some funding attached to it. The second thing I wanted to talk about is Kingsville implemented a greenhouse policy committee. I got to be on that committee, and we did the work of reviewing the present policies regarding greenhouses specifically, and we came up with proposals to basically strengthen the protection of rural residents in relation to the greenhouse industry's expansion. And this policy has yet to be approved by Council. I assume that it'll probably come back to Council and be up for approval early in 2020. So we have a dark sky compliance policy. But having a policy and enforcing the rules are two different things. And during this 2019 season, Council did take steps to hopefully start cracking down and policing the enforcement of those rules that we have in place. Some of the funding received through opting into retail cannabis will go towards investigating and implementing the odor and light controls on our Tier 2 designated cannabis growers presently in town. Kingsville does not have any Tier 1 licensed growers yet. We do have the Tier 2 designated growers, and if you're unfamiliar with the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2, you can read through some of the articles that have been posted or send me a message and I'll help you out. We've had a change of provincial government, which is actually affecting municipalities quite a bit. It affects how we receive funding and how we do certain things like run our police service board. That's probably going to change. And so some announcements that have come through that are specific to our area that I wanted to bring up was the widening of Highway 3. This is something that's been talked about and promises made, and whether we see it or not, don't know, but it was an announcement made by this provincial government this year. We also had the province allocate funding with respect to mental health, which was, I think, a really positive move to see funds specifically designated to this needed area. And the last thing is, of course, is the announcement for the Kingsville K-12 school. We kind of knew the school was coming, but finally the announcement's there as to where it's going to go, and the land deal and purchase has been finalized. So it'll still be several years before we see the school, but we did have a provincial announcement on that. Municipally, we've had quite a bit of work go on this year. We are working on our 5-year plan that is available for public review. We've had a couple of public sessions already, and Council hasn't approved it yet, so you can still get your thoughts in on that. We also have an organizational review that we're expecting a report on early in 2020. We have approved the installation of a couple of crosswalks this year. We have approved recreational fires. You can now have a fire in your backyard with a permit. We've done quite a few road repairs and park improvements. We've seen quite a bit of progress on Lions Park. The Grovedale opened up for its first event in July of this year. Applewood Park received new playground equipment. Ridgeview Park is getting, if it hasn't been completed, new lighting. And still to be determined is Meadowas Park. We had some public input again, but no decisions have been made on that park as yet. And we have a lot of facilities in this town available, and council has asked that they be promoted more aggressively. And we held our business awards this year. That was a fun event, and three really great businesses in town. The Grove and Eyes with Dr. Jacobs and Greenheart Kitchen were winners of the awards. Been quite a bit of sad news this year. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there were fatalities in motor vehicle accidents this year. We've had a pedestrian struck crossing the road. We had quite aggressive, severe flooding this year. Required that our boat ramp be closed, and we have some work to do. Back in March, Town Council approved our affordable housing strategy. It's something that we all know needs to be addressed, and we've not come up with a solution. In 2020, I hope to see higher levels of government, the federal government, the provincial government, partner with municipalities and really start to seriously tackle this need in our communities. When I was looking through my notes and scrolling back through Facebook over the history of the last year, I was pleasantly surprised to see just how many activities take place in our community. And municipally, we've offered quite a few family-friendly fun events, and there's been a host of expos, dinners, yoga. The arts community has really outdone itself this year. We're seeing events put on by community groups and service groups, churches, businesses, and more. And these are not just benefiting our neighbors, but they're benefiting neighboring communities coming here to enjoy what Kingsville has to offer. Kingsville has some really great festivals. This year we had Tall Ships, we had the return of the Folk Festival, we had the Migration Festival's 50th anniversary. That committee did a fabulous job of providing some really fun, unique activities for the community. Fantasy of Lights returned again this year, but the one near and dear to my heart, because this was a committee I was on before the election occurred, was the Highland Games. The return of the Highland Games was a huge success. It was very well attended. We have a dedicated committee who reviewed all of the feedback, and we're excited to bring an even bigger and better event in 2020. If you haven't yet, you can get advanced tickets to the event for a discounted price, and shortly I will be posting on how you can volunteer, and of course if you volunteer, you get in for free. Kingsville's had its share of development in 2019. We have residential dwellings going up in many different areas of town, and that includes 2 Habitat for Humanity builds that are located in Cedarhurst subdivision. We have several commercial buildings that are in development or completed this year. No one can miss that we have a new Taco Bell, which has added to our Main Street East traffic issues. That brings me to the development issue that ended our 2019 council year. That was the building at 190 Main Street East. Building had been approved by the previous council as a 1-story building, and if you drive by, you'll see that it's presently a 2-story building. So council in its last meeting asked our lawyer to find out some more information for us, and we've also asked for an external review of the processes that the town has to investigate and figure out how it is that this happened. It wouldn't be a year in review video if I didn't mention the other Main Street East hot topic property. That's of course 183 Main Street East. This house is located across from the high school. It's recently been purchased by a developer. He will be looking for approval to demolish the house and would like to build a multi-unit residential development. There was a PAC meeting, a Planning Advisory Committee meeting held in November. It was standing room only. This property has definitely gotten the attention of the public. We're hearing concerns about preserving heritage, about increase in traffic, and about the need for housing that local individuals can actually afford as opposed to maybe expensive condominiums. So this issue will not be going away. It will come back early in 2020, and I expect that we'll continue to hear from the public as well. I am pleased that my fellow councillors supported a couple of resolutions that I brought forward this year. The first one is a resolution calling on the province to improve the municipal election voters list. Presently, both provincial and federal elections use a list that's different than what municipalities are using. Municipalities have to rely on MPAC for its voters list, which is notoriously inaccurate and particularly discriminates against renters. The other resolution was a resolution drafted by the Ontario Health Coalition. I brought this to Kingsville Town Council for their support, and this resolution called on the province to stop with healthcare cuts and instead invest in long-term healthcare, our EMS service, hospital services, and more. Having our council meetings recorded and made available for the public to view from home. This is a motion I made at our very first meeting in 2019. And I'm happy to say that it's taken a year, but come January 2020, you will be able to watch council meetings live streamed over the internet, and you'll also be able to look at previous recordings. Looking forward to 2020, some of the first things we're going to have to deal with is Main Street East, our 5-year official plan review, our organizational review, and of course our budget. Our draft budget has come in with a recommended 1.9% increase. If this interests you, please come on out to the public meetings. They're scheduled for January 16th and January 29th, starting at 9 a.m. Otherwise, I hope you will tune in to our live streamed meetings coming in January, and I want to thank you for your engagement. I hope you continue to email me, Facebook message me, tag me in posts. I really appreciate that we have residents who are concerned and caring and do what needs to be done to help make Kingsville great. Thank you.